If you needed help at 4 a.m, who would you turn to? What are the health impacts of feeling isolated? And in a world where more of us are living longer or choosing to be on our own, how do we protect ourselves from one of the biggest problems facing both the older and younger generations, loneliness? You see, the dictionary says being lonely is sadness without friends or company, but perhaps being alone isn't as simple as the meaning suggests. From the people who've worn the t-shirt and got the postcard of facing life alone, to those connecting them with a new lease of life, to the GPs and health experts seeing their patients transform firsthand. This is Discover Brightlife, a podcast series challenging the idea of what loneliness really is and what all of us can do to help to avoid it. For more information on this series, visit brightlifecheshire.org.uk. Discover Brightlife, because sometimes the best medicine is a good laugh in friendly company. In our first episode, we met some of the people who've struggled and found some light when it comes to facing loneliness firsthand. Tim, George and many others attending the Saturday Share Club in Winsford told us how they'd found solace through services run by Community Compass. So today we meet the people behind the name, Simone Cobbold and Yvonne Boyle. We discover what their aims were when first starting out, where they found the people who needed help, and how much a difference Brightlife has made to giving them their first foot in the door when it came to applying for funding.
We're working together at Age UK, weren't we?
Yep.
We've both had years and years and years of experience. I've worked in health and social care. You've done...
Yeah, quite different experience, I think. We've both worked for a long time in and around older people.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was always more sort of fun side, the community arts projects, the exercise classes, the more community work. Yours was what I always say is the more serious side of it, wasn't it?
Yeah. So although we'd both had very different experiences, I think we complemented each other well, really, on the project. Because of our different perspectives, we've come from different ways of looking at things. But I think that works really well. And we'd both been involved in projects that have been successful, but I suppose sometimes the bureaucracy around them and funding and things, it was. We just felt we could do something together. So one day the comment just come out and we just said, why don't we do it?
Really, didn't it?
Yeah, why don't we do it? So we did. So we spent what seemed like forever and ever trying to think of a name. Simone shouting names across the desk at me. And we eventually came up with Community Compass, which hopefully encompasses what we do. It's a community work and it's a compass, so hopefully we're helping to direct people in positive directions. I suppose that was where that come from, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I think from the start, my big bugbear and all ours really was about funding. Always, working really hard on projects, just getting them off the ground, and then the funding would be cut or it would be reduced. And sometimes, we've come to the conclusion really that actually I think it's probably worse for people to give them a little bit of something only to pull it 3 months later, 6 months later when the funding's finished. So I think from the start, we look at ways of trying to be sustainable. So we don't believe in giving stuff free. And that's made our life hard quite often, because even though we've had funding, we still insist on charging something, even if it's a couple of quid, because, without doing that project has got no hope of becoming sustainable. So because of that, we have now groups that are running that even if Community Compass finished tomorrow, those groups could continue running. Those people would still get the benefits of that group. And I think that's always been our aim.
Yeah.
It's the same with Share Club, isn't it? From the start, we knew we didn't want to give that free. You know, what we do is really good. What people get from it is really good. So, you know, it's worth a few quid. But also it's that few quid is what makes that sustainable for people. So we're not just giving them something and saying, oh, singing or dancing, isn't this fabulous? Only to pull it a month later. And often leaving people. I mean, there's some things have worked for us, some things haven't. It's a big learning curve. But, you know, I think people get a lot out of it and continues to get a lot out of it.
Yeah, and I think, well, it puts the value on it as well, I think, for the people who were coming along. And when we started off, we literally just trolled it. When we applied for the funding, and we were lucky enough to get the funding from, we were successful with one tender through Brightlife for Malpas, and then a second tender in Winsford. And we literally just trolled the streets, didn't we? And got our faces known, got round and about, and just spoke to people, found out what they would like, rather than us going in and just saying, like, we're going to start an exercise group here, whatever. We found out what people might like. And then, and still now, it's always the social, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the social element that is most important to people. Because and that's the door to perhaps other activities, but the social side is what everyone values, I think, and what helps to get people out and about. And the groups that we run are, we try to keep them so they're not massive, because there'd be nothing worse neither than someone coming out into a group and then them feeling lonely when they got there. So that's
I think they're always really inclusive, and we make a point of that. There's things like any group can get cliquey, and we're really aware of that. And you can get volunteers in to make tea and do toast and cake. I think where we've struggled is to get those volunteers that can see the bigger picture of that group. So we will purposely go into a group and change how we lay the tables out and change how we lay the chairs out, because by doing that we're avoiding, oh, well, I normally sit there and that's my seat and she's sat in my seat, and you which can be really unnerving and unwelcoming if you've got new people coming in. So we purposely do that in all our groups. We'll change rooms, we'll change seats, we change table layouts. As Yvonne said, the social is really, really important. I mean, I always try and get them to do creative stuff because that's my background. So we always do a bit of arts and crafts, but quite often we found people don't really mind what they're doing. They're quite happy to try something new. We get them to do exercise that way. We've got a really successful group on a Monday at the Dingle where we've got a lot of men doing exercise, and they quite openly say they never would have turned up to an exercise class. We've conned them into it, is what they say, but in a way we have, because we got them there because we talk about the social, and then we introduced it gradually, and it's now those guys really that are saying to me at 11 o'clock, come on Simone, are we not doing the exercise now? So it's just, it's a way of just getting people to try something new. And I think they normally are willing to try something new when they feel comfortable in that environment. Yeah.
And I think the eating as well. The eating has been a big thing. A lot of people have said to us, because we do the tea and toast, when people arrive at our groups, and lots of people said to us, don't they, this is the only time I might share a meal with somebody. And we've got carers who will come with the cared for person, and we've had people say, this is the only time anyone ever makes me a brew or does something for me. We probably underestimated that, I think, didn't we? We said that from the beginning, didn't we? That we've underestimated the value of that, really.
Yeah, I think part of what we do as well, because obviously the people do get tea made for them and toast, but from the start we try and get people to take some ownership of those groups. So if we see somebody that's got a chink of something to offer back, whether they're willing to to come and wash up with us or to hand out teas, or we always encourage people to take some ownership of that group. We'll give somebody the chore of collecting in the subs, and it's a little thing, but it actually gives them some ownership of that group and can help build their confidence. We had a lady at one of our groups who we gave a little kitty to, didn't we? She used to, and a sheet, and each week she would make sure there was tea and coffee and biscuits there. But for her, how she grew in confidence, just by having that job, it helped us, but was great, wasn't it? Just to see the confidence grow. And I think it just, it adds to their ownership and their commitment to the group. So yeah, I just think the emphasis is on them to take some ownership of that.
Yeah, and I don't think people don't recognise that they are socially isolated sometimes. Either it's perhaps a protective thing, or
people don't want to admit it.
Yeah,
do they,
people don't want to admit it. But we have come across lots of people who might be isolated for many reasons. From perhaps they've lost a partner, they might have retired, finished work.
Partners suffering with dementia, that's a big one.
Yeah,
because you're not actually on your own, are you?
No.
But that person's not the person that you've been married to for the last, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So.
And the way families have changed as well, whereas at one point all families all stayed in the same village or whatever, the same town. Now people move away, not only away in the country, they move to different countries. Families are busy. People like mums and dads both working full time now. People have busy lives, and so although
we often hear, I think people say, my family are good,
yeah,
and they ring, but they live, Birmingham, so face-to-face contact with people can be really, some people. On a Monday, for example, some people say that's the only time that they're really getting to have a decent conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And as I say, if your partner is poorly and you're stuck in, we see a lot of couples, haven't we? Especially through the Share Club. We've been to see a hell of a lot of couples where, one's poorly, one isn't, and one could be out and about, but through guilt or through needing to be there to physically care for that person, they don't do it. And that's a real shame, isn't it? We've purposely opened up the Share Club days out to couples because when we was looking at a criteria, that was some of the things that people had said, isn't it? But actually, we see almost the carer as being probably more needing of that service than we do the cared for person sometimes.
Yeah.
And our Monday groups use quite a lot, isn't it? Where people will come and bring their partner that they're looking after. No, especially now, knowing they know us well, they've come for a while, but leave them there while they just run off around town. Even if it's just an hour, it's an hour without them to, take somebody with you that's ill or
just bob to the bank, isn't it?
And they can just make so much life's easier for people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just a tiny thing. So more and more, I think we're seeing that actually the service that we provide is actually as important for the care as it is for the cared for person.
It's a big problem because of people's lifestyles now, and also because of more acute services, they're getting their funding pulled. So there's less support, I think, that way as well now. So it's important that the likes of the people like us are able perhaps to help in that area and help to fill some of the gaps that might have been filled in other ways in years gone by. Because funding is getting pulled left, right and centre, and it's leaving carers, informal carers, a lot more pressure on them.
No, it's also, I think there's a preventative element, isn't there, as well? So if you are caring for somebody and that becomes your whole world and you don't go out, you lose your connection to your community, you lose your identity about who you are, and eventually when that person does pass away, people really, really struggle to then pick that back up again. They've lost all confidence and we've seen that time and time again, haven't we?
Yeah.
Having to really, really handhold people to sort of just to come back out again and join the world again. I mean, we see some people, we say this, don't we, that we think some people just forget what it feels like not to be lonely.
Yeah.
That they've lived like that for so long that it's almost easier for them to stay lonely.
Yeah.
And us knocking on their door and as nice as we can be and telling them about Share Club and all the things they can do, it's actually quite frightening.
Yeah.
And it is easier for them just to stay as they are.
And we've learned that, I think, over the last few years, haven't we? Because I think we underestimated, perhaps at the beginning, it takes time to build people's confidence, doesn't it? And for them to get to know you and to trust you. So a big part of our job is to do that, is to get ourselves known, get ourselves out and about and let people find out actually we're not bad.
But it's like the volunteer we had, isn't it, that used to do the tea and coffee. When we first met her, she used to almost growl at us.
Yeah, she did.
She really didn't know, but gradually we got to know her, and it did take a long time. And as I say, that project did a lot for her.
Yeah.
But I think with the volunteering, we're as much about preventative, aren't we, as we are about, you know, tackling it. And I think with the Share Club, one of the projects we've got that's been it's been lovely, is sort of our clients, I suppose, that we've worked with over the last couple of years. We've got them now, people in their 80s, who are coming to us and signing up as our volunteers now because they're willing to ring an older person who's lonely. So for us, that's fab. And in a way, I suppose all we're really doing is matching to people in their 80s that would like somebody to talk to them. But for the volunteer, I mean, we have to DBS check them because our insurance insists on it. And we were a bit worried about that it might put people off. But if anything, I think we've found the opposite, that they quite like the officialness of, you know, oh, look at me, I'm doing these forms and I'm doing a job, and we have volunteer paperwork they have to do, and we have information we have to give them, health and safety, basic adult safeguarding, all of this stuff that we were worried might put people off, but actually we found the opposite.
Yeah,
they love their folder, they love all this paperwork, and so far so good. They're getting a lot out of it, aren't they?
Yeah. So. How's that way?
Yeah. And again, we try and be as flexible as we can with those, that if we see somebody has some skill or something to offer, we will bend over backwards to try and use that. Mm-hmm. For example, we have people contact us not so long ago who wants to write to people. She's in Milton Keynes, she's miles from us, but basically there's no reason if she wants to write to people, she could be wherever she wants in the world. So we're trying to organise that.
We've got a jigsaw liggy as well, a lady who has 300 plus jigsaws, who would like to go to people's homes and have like a jigsaw library. So it would be like a home library service, but she's going to go and visit people with the jigsaw, hopefully sit with people, have a brew with them, start a jigsaw off with them, and then leave that jigsaw and go back the following week and maybe do that jigsaw again or swap or whatever. And I think that's it's a nice gentle opening as well for a lot of our members, because we've got many different ways people can be involved with us, but that is something that somebody hopefully have a common interest in. It's a fun thing to do. It'll encourage conversation, it'll encourage putting the kettle on and making a brew. So we're made up about that, aren't we?
I just think it's a safe option because, you know, we've got volunteers that are willing to cook and take an extra meal to people. We've got fair share food that we can give to people. But actually, if you're a bit low and you're a bit lonely and you're not used to having company, it can be quite an arse to let somebody you don't know into your house, let alone them deliver you a meal that you don't know if you're going to like. So for us, stuff like the jigsaws and just delivering a bag of groceries, not even necessarily going in. And we've got one guy we see where we literally put a bag over the gate, and that's always really willing to engage. But we're happy with that, and hopefully 6 months down the line he might get through the gate, and so we just try and be as flexible as we can. We've got a volunteer that works for us in Winsford who's just almost done full circle, isn't she?
Yeah,
she started a couple of years back. She's 84.
Yeah, 84. Yeah.
She puts us all to shame, really sprightly, washes up. She's been fab for us, hasn't she?
Amazing.
She'll wash up, she'll make toast, what she'll also do is she's really good at spotting those people that are new and maybe a bit scared, and we'll give her a nudge and she'll just go and take a brew over and sit down and chat to that person.
Yeah.
She's had knitting projects going, they've knitted for...
Yeah, with groups, we've had knitting for babies, newborn babies, stray dogs.
Twiddle muffs and
all
whatnot.
Sorts.
So she's arranged all this. Over the last 2 months, we've noticed her slowing down. She's got a bit of a problem with her back, and we were worried that we might not, that she might finish. And we saying to her, "Please don't stop." And so she's now. Last Monday was the first time where she actually has gone the other side of the counter, as she says.
She's gone the other side.
So she's gone full circle. We're struggling. We need to replace her. But we just try and be as flexible as possible for people. So she's now become a client in a way, but
which is nice because she knows all the faces. So she was quite.
And she's still nattering away. She's still doing her little role, really.
Yeah,
isn't she?
Yeah. And we have another amazing volunteer who's younger, don't we?
Yeah.
Who she's just works really hard. She's great. She'd lost her confidence.
Yeah.
Don't think she wouldn't mind us saying that. She'd lost her confidence. Had some personal life changes, and she's great, and she works. She's now got a job, a paid job, but she still says, "I'm going to carry on volunteering for you."
And if we could employ her, we would.
Yeah, definitely.
Because she's fab.
And she's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I think the social isolation and the people when we've been out to visit people, although I've always gone out and done visits in people's homes, it still doesn't stop shocking me. Some of the way we see some people live. We've seen some people that live
on Weetabix.
Yeah.
And cereal, because they can't either stand to cook, or they can't get to the shops to get the food, or they just can't be bothered.
Yeah.
They've got to a point where they can't be bothered.
Or they live in, in some of the more rural places that we visit. We've got people living literally out in the middle of nowhere, haven't we? And we've been
with no electric.
Yeah, no electric.
Relying on generators.
I mean, they're happy to live like that, and that's what we have to be mindful of as well. Although we might think, wow, actually, some of the people they've lived like that and they're content to live like that. So you have to, and circumstances, you don't know what's going to happen in your own life, do you, to bring you to that. But still, it can be quite upsetting, some of the stories we hear, can't it? It's real sad stories. But hopefully, when people come involved with us, whatever way they do, hopefully it helps them a little bit. And then baby steps can lead to bigger steps. We've got lots of different ways that people can come to us, from a phone call, from us, like Simone just said, putting the food over the gate, to coming out and spending the day with us, or being involved with every part of the project. So that's our aim. That was one of our biggest aims, was that we wanted it to be, the Share Club in particular, to be as flexible as possible for volunteers and for members to be involved, because of that learning over the fact that it takes time for people to trust you. And people have got almost used to living the way they are.
Yeah, that's part of the big reason why we wanted to do the day out as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, it's great if you've got somebody calling in on you, or somebody telephoning you, or somebody knocking on your door with a bag of groceries. But a lot of people still weren't getting out. So we bend over backwards, literally sometimes, to get people out that door. Some people don't need asking twice, and it's just a matter of transport, or wheelchair accessible transport. Some people need a bit of coaxing. But what was lovely, even it was Christmas, wasn't it, we did an event, and there was a lady who was adamant she didn't want to come. I mean, we went to her house, she was very pleasant, but she didn't want to come. It was her daughter who finally talked around, and I think almost had to drag her there for the party. She came, and we didn't know this, but it was just absolute pure luck that another woman had brought her sister, who lived about 5 miles down the road, and the two of them used to be friends when they were younger. Yeah. So that was absolutely fab, and they sat there and they nattered, didn't they? The whole time. It was lovely to see. The daughter and the sister were made up, and now they're both coming out to us. Their first 4th of Feb, isn't it?
Yeah, first one.
So they're both coming. So that for us was absolutely great, and hopefully they'll continue to come monthly now, so at least, if nothing else, they'll see each other monthly. We'll try and encourage them to maybe telephone each other, swap numbers, so that hopefully will have an impact on that lady's life and her time. So
the Share Club's like a culmination really of everything I think that we've learned. We looking for volunteers all the time. We're obviously looking for members. Anybody can come to us and ask us about the Share Club, but we've deliberately targeted people to people like health workers, community health workers, home care agencies, because actually they're getting to those people that aren't able to get out and about, whereas as much trolling the streets me and Simone might do, or promoting at events, there's some people who still wouldn't get to hear about us. So we've purposely gone to places like that. We've gone to pharmacies, and some pharmacies are putting our leaflets in with the blister packs and things like that. So hopefully are getting to those people that aren't out in the big wide world.
We've definitely had new clients, haven't we?
Yeah,
since
definitely,
we've used that approach. I mean, we've worked in and around these areas for ages, but particularly as Community Compass for the last couple of years, and we are reaching that tactic is working. We are reaching wider people that we've not come across before.
And I think the volunteers, we say to anyone 21 plus, we would welcome as a volunteer. But a big, shocking, I think, response was beginning of December last year, just off the cuff. We decided to do a video on Facebook, and basically I just twittered on about what Share Club was about, and talked about some of the experiences we've come across. Pretty honest, really. It was just pretty honest, and I twittered. But actually, we had a really good response from that for volunteers. We had a lot of interest. We're in the process now of going through signing
people up, and all the paperwork.
As Simone's mentioned before, we do the DBS checks, and then we do some basic training. We are going to as well, we're planning later on this year to do a volunteer and member celebration day. So to get everybody together, we thought that would be good. Nice thing to do, just so you can see the wider picture, because when you're volunteering, if you're out volunteering and meeting someone, as valuable as nice that is, it could still be quite solitary if you're not getting to find out a wider picture.
And people volunteer for a reason, don't they?
Yeah.
They're obviously nice people and they want to give something back, but they actually want to get something from it.
Yeah.
And we try to make sure that that's part of it as well, because if you're not, eventually you'll stop. So, we thought it'd be really nice to do that event later on in the year and bring everyone together. We try and to be as inclusive and friendly with our volunteers as possible. I mean, a lot of them have actually become friends, haven't they?
Yeah.
We know them well, and that's when it works really well.
Yeah, we've got people who's wanting to visit, and they're taking their babies, aren't they, and the little ones.
Yeah.
We've got someone who's got a dog, which they're all, I don't know, it's just nice, personal.
There are lots
thing.
of nice people out there. I mean, I think you hear so much on the news, and it's all doom and gloom and misery. But actually, we was contacted probably about October time by a lady that wanted to get some shoe boxes together for older people. She put that around her school here locally, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And did we get about 70
it was in the end.
Yeah.
70 boxes.
We got, and they were amazing. So people had done these boxes. They were full of really lovely things, food and gloves and smellies and lovely cards that the kids in the family had wrote to people.
Gorgeous.
And we were completely literally overwhelmed with them, because the office was full of them, but like really overwhelmed by the generosity of people, really.
Yeah.
And the smiles.
It was amazing.
Yeah, the photographs we've got, the smiles and the joy those boxes brought to people who were just like, completely, weren't they?
They were overwhelmed.
Yeah, overwhelmed with it, because a lot of them wouldn't have even got a Christmas present. They wouldn't have, and it was just lovely, weren't it?
Yeah.
So there are lots of really nice people out there that want to.
We had two ladies, didn't we, who came to us as well, who wanted to open the house for Christmas Day. So basically they asked us if we knew of anybody who would be alone on Christmas Day. We went to meet him, and it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous, an old farmhouse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And lovely, lovely ladies. One of them's been a real good cook, obviously. Not that matters, it was just the thought behind it. And some of our members went along on Christmas Day. They picked them up, took them along. They had an amazing lunch, apparently. And they had presents. They did a bit of karaoke, I think. And just were spoilt for the day, which was lovely, really lovely.
And they're talking about doing that more, aren't they, on a Sunday? Because we purposely run the Share Club days of the weekend, because we was getting a lot of feedback from people saying that even if they were accessing some services, there was nothing for them at the weekend. And a lot of the people we'd see on a Monday morning would literally say they hadn't spoke to anyone. Yeah. So we run the day in Winsford on a Saturday and the day in Malpas Tilston on a Sunday. And we purposely do, or the Royal We, Yvonne, does roast dinner. Because that's another thing that with a lot of people say they really, really miss, is that roast. It's the day that you used to do with family traditionally. Roast beef always comes up, doesn't it? Because you'd never cook a joint of roast beef for yourself, would you? So we made a point of doing that. But the people that cooked for Christmas dinner, she said she was happy to do a Sunday dinner for 4 people, maybe once a month or a few times a year.
I think it's on the food subject as well. We've teamed up with Cheshire. So we also, which is great, because what we do is we get a text 3 or 4 times a week from Cheshire, the cloud, and that basically is asking us if we want to collect some groceries from Tesco's. We've got 3 nominated Tesco stores around about where we're working. We get this text, we say yes or no if we can collect the next morning, and we go along. And the food is just, it's all edible, nothing wrong with it at all. It's stuff that's coming to end of shelf life and would otherwise just go off to landfill. So we collect that and we take it back to our clubs and we distribute it to our members in the community, to members of the clubs, to anybody really that would appreciate it, be able to use it. It can be an excuse for us as well to knock on someone's door, just for someone to get to know somebody. So we might just knock on the door, give them the bag, say, right, see you same time next week. But it's just getting...
We can put our leaflets of information in that bag as well, which often helps.
And we team up with other agencies, don't we, round and about as well, so we put their leaflets in. So it's an excuse to put a face at a door, and hopefully there's not many people who are going to turn away a bag of groceries, which hopefully will be useful to them. And we also use that at the Share Club. This week we've got one this week, and I've got a mountain of bread in the freezer, so I'm doing a massive bread and butter pudding. So it's all that. It's all that as well. All that, it all just seems to, it all fits in together and helps to attract people to us, hopefully.
More with Yvonne and Simone from Community Compass in a moment. But let's pause and meet some of the characters coming up in episode 7. I'll set the scene for you. It's a cloudy Tuesday winter morning. The tea is just brewed, biscuits and cakes have been served at a quiet church in Chester, when a particular quiz question sets some of the ladies in the group off giggling like a group of schoolgirls.
Question 10. Most old people lose interest in the capacity for sexual relations. Am I allowed to say that?
Don't get the chance. That's a bit. The chance is a fine thing.
Right. Did everybody get that?
I say you get on the naughty step.
Well, no, you don't lose interest. Can they have a look? That's what we're saying. Can they have a look on what's offer first before they answer that?
True or false? I'm afraid that's all you can write.
Right. So as soon as I shut that door at night, I'm in the house, I'm on my own, and I do get lonely. I miss my husband, of course. Once you've had a partner all your life and they're taken away, you've lost half of yourself, haven't you? But you've got to pick yourself up and, not feel sorry for yourself.
Number 4 is true, Iris. Memory loss is a normal part of ageing.
Yeah, well, I've put don't know because I didn't feel
Right, that's all right.
I can't remember now.
I mean, for me, everything comes out of a bottle. Hair dye, makeup, gin, whiskey. Make the best of what you've got.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
I just like my part-time partner because, although he gets on my nerves sometimes, he's good if my plumbing goes wrong. He's very good with my computer. They do come in useful, men.
Yes.
More from Olwyn, Doris and the Tuesday Church drop-in group next time on Discover Brightlife. Back with Yvonne and Simone, and they're pondering over some of the people who they've met over the past few years. And what does a lonely person look like anyway?
There's lots and lots and lots of people, and everyone has got a story. And I think maybe if you walked into one of our clubs, you might say, well, they're not lonely, they're not isolated. But actually, everyone that's come in to see us, they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
They're there for a reason, whatever that may be. And we could all find ourselves in a situation like that where something happens that leaves us feeling isolated. But there's some real lovely stories as well that we've come across. And just simple things like a chap that who now volunteers for us. He came to one of our parties and now volunteers for us, and he's amazing, isn't he, Simone?
Yeah,
he's amazing. He takes goodies to people in the close where he lives. Now, he said he spoke to a couple of them before. Well, if I start again, he moved into this area. He's not from this area. He moved into this area. His wife passed away, and he found himself living somewhere we didn't really know anybody around him. He said he spoke to a couple of neighbours, but he now takes these bags off of the Fair Share goodies. He's met all his neighbours through this, goes round, has a chat with them, gives them the bag of goodies. He collects stuff for us as well, which is a massive help to us from the Tesco's. He visits people.
He befriends people, doesn't he?
Yeah, befriends people. He will give people lifts if need be. We keep him busy.
Yeah, we do. Really busy.
Keep him busy, but he's amazing. He's amazing.
I was just going to say, he's been a good tool for the men, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, quite often one of the things that we get asked if we go and see men is, oh, God, is it going to be full of women?
Yeah.
And although we do arts and crafts, we also try and do stuff like a bit of woodwork, a bit of gardening, willow weaving. We try and make it, poetry is always a good one. We try and make it as inclusive for everybody, really.
Yeah.
But John's always a really good one, because if we can say, well, actually, we've got this volunteer and he can call around and they think it's another man, that's a good buying point, isn't it?
I'm really excited. We've got a new chap who's coming and joining us, and John's befriending them, and I just think they're going to be trouble. They're going to get on like a house on fire. They're just really, I just think they're going to get on really well. Hopefully they're going to get on really well. Well, I can't wait for them to meet each other. What do you think they're going to be?
Saturday, hopefully.
The chap that actually we've paired him up with, that he's had similar circumstances, and he's really excited to just hopefully meet another bloke, have a good natter, probably have a moan about women, but I think that'll be good. I think it'll be good for both of them.
Yeah,
they'll enjoy it. Also, as Community Compass, what do we get out of there? God, what couldn't you get out of it? It's we just have a fab time, don't we? We have a great time. It's very sad sometimes, but we have a great time, and just these simple things that we're privileged to do, I suppose, it makes a big difference to people.
We meet some really nice people, some really interesting people. We have home visits, and obviously we have to give ourselves a certain amount of time for home visits, and we've learned, that just goes out the window, because we end up sitting and chatting, and people will tell you their stories, and especially if they had horses or dogs, then that's us gone, and we're there for hours. So it's just we're lucky that we get to spend time with really interesting people, and we have a laugh. We try and I think that's probably why our groups are quite successful. We try not to make it about old people. We try not to make it about being ill or being lonely. It's about having fun. We always have music on. We always, and it's not we have modern music. And
impromptu dance.
Impromptu dancing. We often end up getting up and having a dance. And we try and make it lively and fun, so it isn't just about older people being around older people in a venue that's for older people, and it's all about being old. We have purposely, like, some of our volunteers are slightly younger. That adds, we're not yet old, are we? We're middle-aged.
I think so.
So I think it just adds a variety to the people that they're talking to, because that's one thing people do say, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you get old, you just end up talking to old people all the time. Because when you're growing up, you talk to people of all ages, don't you? But we just try and make it fun and not about we just want it to be lively and fun. And all the time it's lively and fun. If it's lively and fun for our members, then it's lively and fun for us, isn't it? So, and we always say, if the day we stop laughing about it, the day it stops being fun, then we'll go and do something else.
I mean, we've had some funny stories, haven't we? We've had some shocking, not shocking.
This
but
is a conversation we had yesterday.
Yeah.
Which, who would have thought we'd be having these conversations about the strangest of things with people? But
there's plenty of life in people as they get older, and that's good. That's nice. It's this. Everyone's got something to give, haven't they? No matter what age, we've got people who are in their late 90s who got that twinkle in their eye, and once they open up, they've got some real stories to tell, and most importantly, I think still got an awful lot to give, and their life experiences and things they've done. You know, I love it. It's just dead interested to listen to people, listen to what they've done. Everyone you speak to, when you say to them when they're in their 90s, we say, oh, go on then, what's your secret? And it's usually hard work. And as much as we'd like to say they've drank as much wine as they want and ate as much chocolate as they want, that's never the answer.
Unfortunately.
So, and having a laugh, really, I suppose, and having that opportunity to have a laugh. So, yeah, we just meet some great people.
Yeah. And I think, you can tell if people are buggers, if they're characters when they're younger, they still are, aren't they? Even if they're a bit down on their luck and a bit miserable, you know, it doesn't take long for that to come back out again. No. And as I say, we've met some great people and we've had some great fun. Yeah. And we try not to stereotype, in all honesty. We really try not to. The venues we try and use, we want them to be bright and, you know, lively and have an atmosphere. We don't want to
carefully think about that, don't we?
Yeah, we
don't want to be bringing someone out to have
into some dingy, dark, miserable place. So we try and do it, and even with the activities we do, you know, sort of stereotypical image of like older person's artwork, and they're all watercolor painting. So we basically take decorators' brushes and acrylic paint and great big bunches of hydrangeas and make them do large pictures. It's just trying to just get people to be people, really. Yeah. So
I mean, hopefully, I'm not wanting to blow our own trumpet, but hopefully there are things around like this. But it does make you think.
Yeah, we hope that community clubs is still going and we can go along to it. And we'll be the batty old lady sat in the corner going, we used to run this. We never used to do it like that. We used to do it like this.
I think and some of the stories we've heard, I'm thinking of one couple who we went to see not so long ago who had a very, very, very active lifestyle, off travelling. The lady wasn't well, and now she's found herself totally dependent on her husband for all her care needs, and that's happened literally, you know, that day. It's changed.
It was overnight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's changed their life, and both of their roles. She'd been carer for her husband, and that's how quickly that has changed, and it can happen to any of us at any age. And I do, sometimes, I mean, I look at my husband and think, blimey, would he look after me? And I don't know, and I don't know. It does make you think about yourself, and things can be taken from you so quickly that sometimes I think when you're going along in your everyday life, in your little bubble, you don't always. Well, you hope that wouldn't, and I hope, you hope that wouldn't happen to you, but you never know, and it does. You look at people, you think, wow, God, this.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys wouldn't have ever dreamt that they'd end up as they are, would they?
No.
And it's just life, I suppose. But one of the things I take from it is to keep busy.
Yeah.
The people that I look at and think, wow, you're amazing. You're not only amazing for your age, you're just amazing. And I would like to be like you when I'm 85, if I'm still here. And a lot of the time the secret is that they've kept busy.
Yeah,
that they haven't
keep the mind
stopped.
busy if the
kept
body's not
learning,
able. Yeah.
Keep being open to opportunities.
Yeah.
And you need a confidence for that. So I know that's not always easy for people, but keep learning, be open to opportunities and willing to try new things.
Yeah.
When people go stale and when people struggle is when that goes, I think. Yeah. And they're stuck in a rut, stuck in their ways. And I can understand completely why people do that.
Yeah.
But my lesson to myself would be to try not to do that.
You've been listening to Discover Brightlife, a podcast challenging the idea of loneliness and exploring new ways of tackling social isolation for those over 50. The podcast is presented and produced by Claire Freeman and a Small Furry Bear Productions. For more information, visit brightlifecheshire.org.uk. Discover Brightlife, because sometimes the best medicine is a good laugh in friendly company.